Danta. It's a privilege to read out the paper by Professor Gaganendranath Das. The paper is titled Odia Bhagavata by Jagannath Dasa, Controversies, Conflicts, Schisms, Attempts at Resolution. Since Professor Das is not in a position to read it out himself or to talk or present his paper himself, he has asked me to present it on his behalf. And as I said, it's a privilege. What I would do in the time that is available from now till, let's say, 5:10, within this 20 minutes, I may not be able to read out the whole paper. So what I would do is rather is to communicate some of the major ideas which are involved or which are playing themselves out in the paper. The central question that Professor Das is engaging with is about the kinds of oppositions that Jagannath Dasa's Bhagavata faced in early modern Odisha, primarily the 18th century or 17th and 18th century. So before he goes on to describe the kinds of oppositions that the text might have faced, he begins on a note which indicates the immense popularity of the text in Odisha, in Odia speaking areas. So he would say that why this text is popular, and he would point out a couple of reasons, and one of them being that the excellent command over the language that the text has and the poetic abilities of Jagannath Das both contributed to the immense popularity of the text. And he would also compare the text with the two other major narratives of late medieval and early modern times. One would be Sarala Dasa's Mahabharata, and the other one would be Balaram Dasa's Ramayana. And he would reason out why this particular text by Jagannath Das could stand out in terms of its popularity, or it became even more popular than these two other counterparts, these two other texts. And then he would also say that the popularity of the text, in fact, went beyond the language barriers, and he would cite how this text had an influence in the Bengali literary scene of the time. And he cites one Sanatan Vidyavagisha, who translated the Sanskrit Bhagavata into Bengali at the end of the 17th century. And apparently, the citations that he has provided, which includes Sukumar Sen, Sen's history of Bangla literature, Vidyavagish apparently drew from Jagannath Dasa's 10th canto both language, style, and treatment, and drew upon these resources to render his Bangla 10th canto. And the influence of Jagannath Das on the text, apparently he also retained some of Jagannath Dasa's in that text, if I have got it right. So this shows the immense popularity, the popularity of the text. And then he goes on to cite one more evidence for the popularity of the text. And this time he cites he cites a map prepared by von Stettenkorn on the basis of the data collected from the Endowment Office of the Government of Odisha. And this geographical map shows the distribution of Bhagavata Tungis or Bhagavata Gadis in Odisha. And from the map, Professor Das quotes, and the map is unpublished. So he says that this map shows that there is a concentration of the Bhagavata Tungis all along in the Mahanadi Valley, especially in the Sambalpur region. So then he also takes you through B.C. Majumdar's views on the popularity of the text. and B.C. Majumdar writing in late 19th and early 20th century, most probably early 20th century. Yeah, early 20th century. Majumdar is quoting another Bengali stalwart, Budeb Mukherjee, who, as an inspector of schools, had some experience of Odisha and who apparently made an observation that due to Bhagavata, the art of reading and writing is known and practiced by the common people more extensively in Odisha than in Bengal. So basically, what he does in the first section of his paper is to position the Bhagavata as a popular text. And the way he positions the Bhagavata as a popular text, it revolves around 3 or 4 factors. One is the language, the poetry of it, which could appeal to people, and where it probably superseded other texts of the period, which would be Sarala Das and Balaram Das. That's one, the poetry of the text. Then he goes on to say that the popularity of the text also is suggested by the fact that it had an influence beyond Odia. So in the neighboring regions, people had an awareness of it, and Das's text could influence, could have an influence beyond the language boundaries. And then he cites the geographical distribution of Bhagavata Tungis as social institutions. And these social institutions had spread different parts of Odisha. And the geographical map that Stettenkorn has prepared shows its concentration along the Mahanadi river valley. And then he comes on to say 19th century sources, B.C. Majumdar, Budeb Mukhopadhyay, who would say the popularity of the text and its influence on the society. The reason why he's setting up the paper in this way, that given this kind of a popularity, how do we conceptualize the opposition to a popular text like this? So in order to draw out the opposition or the importance of the opposition, the popularity of the text needs to be drawn out first. Now, we come to the central sections of his essay, and he says that there can be 3 kinds of oppositions to the text: potential and actual. One he calls the intersect opposition, the other he calls the intrasect opposition, and the third he says the Brahmanic opposition. So we will go through all these 3 sections. The first one is pretty brief. The point is that the intersect opposition, there was not much opposition from the Shaivites or the Shaktas to Jagannath Das's Bhagavata. And he wants to explain why. And he says that it's because Jagannatha is declared as the Rashtra Devata, or became the Rashtra Devata, and it incorporated other sects to it, or it had a kind of a cordial relationship with other sects, or at least a dialogue with the other texts, with other sects, it could sustain. But since Jagannatha became Rashtra Devata, or Jagannath religion became prominent, and Jagannath got associated with first with Vishnu Purushottama and then later with Krishna, since this identification was formally established, and since Jagannath religion was predominant or hegemonic, the chances of opposition to Bhagavata, which is about Krishna, became less. So this is one potential site of opposition from which, or in which actually opposition did not materialize. But the 2 other sites that he refers to, the intrasect opposition and the Brahmanic opposition, that is where the opposition happens, where opposition happens or unfolds, and that is what Professor Das is more interested to elaborate upon. And particularly the intrasect opposition is what I would like to spend a little more time on. The primary axis around which this section of his paper, which is about the intrasect oppositions, revolves is about the potential historical tensions between the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the Odissi Vaishnavas. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, he says, even when they are Odia speakers and reside in Odisha, were and are reluctant to accept the Odia Bhagavata by Jagannath Das, which they argue is not the true or literal translation of the original Sanskrit text. So this conflict or tension between the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the Odissi Vaishnavas is what he means or refers to by the term intrasect opposition, and it's this opposition that he tries to explain. And the primary theological difference, that is what he first delineates, the primary theological conflict or tension concerns the Rasa Panchadhyay. While the Gaudiya Goswamis would glorify Radha in the Rasa Panchadhyay section, the 5 chapters, the Odissi Vaishnavas, particularly during or in Jagannath Das's writing, Radha doesn't figure. The Gopi who figures there as specially loved by Sri Krishna is Vrindavati. So it's Vrindavati as opposed to, or Vrindavati in place of Radha, or Radha in place of Vrindavati. That's the kind of axis around which that theological controversy unfolds, particularly in the early periods. And he would say that while Vrindavati is kind of taking off from the spatial connotations, Vrindavan, Vrindavati, that's the connection most likely. While it's a spatial name or a title or an emphasis, in Radha the emphasis is on the word or sound. It derives from that shloka, the Anaya Radhito Nunam. So it's from the sound, the word, the expression. So spatial and sound, sonic. These are the kinds of elements which are present there. And he goes on to say, takes you through various texts and takes you through them and says that Sridhara Swami mentions neither Vrindavati nor Radha. And even Chaitanya's, so his argument is that the discovery, I'm quoting him, the discovery of Radha in the Bhagavata by Chaitanya's followers might have happened not during Chaitanya's lifetime, but only after his death. And he also cites a parallel with Ballavacharya, Rasa Panchadhyay Sri Subodhini, which doesn't mention Radha, but later on Radha is worshipped within that community. So given this major theological difference between the Odissi and the Gaudiya Vaishnavite positions, what happens in 19th century or 18th century, that's what his interesting arguments are. He says that by the time 18th century comes, Gaudiya Vaishnavism is so prominent that Odia Vaishnava positions didn't think or had to accommodate, had to create a kind of a dialogue with them, or had to create a kind of a build the bridges kind of thing. So, and that's where the most interesting argument happens. What he does is he cites 3 early modern texts, reads 3 early modern texts. One is Debakar Dasa's Jagannatha Charitamrita, the other is Bhupati Pandit's Prema Panchamrita, and the last one is Gupta Bhagavata. Gupta Bhagavata is anonymous, it's ascribed to Jagannath Das, which he doesn't think much of, a later text. So what he does is he says, or he reads how these 3 early modern Odia texts, Jagannath Charitamrita, Prema Panchamrita, and Gupta Bhagavata, reconcile or find a reconciliation between Gaudiya Vaishnavism and Odissi Vaishnavism between Radha and Vrindavati. So what he does is he says that even if in Jagannath Das's Bhagavatam you do not find Radha mentioned, you find Vrindavati mentioned, even then, what Divakar Das does, Jagannath Charitamrita does, is to present Jagannath Dasa, the author himself, as an incarnation of Radha. So once the author himself is presented as an incarnation of Radha, Das's argument is that it becomes less important whether Radha finds mention in the Jagannath Das's Bhagavata or not. So once the author himself is positioned as an incarnation of Radha, and this move is or happens also, or in the process of this move, also Chaitanya is mobilized to legitimize this kind of a move. So if that's one way in which the reconciliation happens, is attempted at by Divakar Dasa, Jagannath Charitamrita, then the other way, which is Bhupati Pandit's Prema Panchamrita way, Bhupati Pandit's Prema Panchamrita way is, and by the way, Bhupati Pandit was not a native speaker of Odia, and he came from Paschima. That's the term that we had. So he came to Odisha and settled down in Khordha region, and he acquired Odia to write minor classic, Prema Panchamrita. And the way the reconciliation happens there, particularly in the Rasa Panchadhyaya scene, is that both Radha and Vrindavati find mention. So both Vrindavati is present as well as Radha is present. According to this text, Krishna vanishes with Vrindavati from the Rasasthala, as has been described in Jagannath Das's work. However, later Radha also appears in the scene and has been assigned a superior status or position to Vrindavati, and she also played a superior role in the whole episode than that of the former. So that's another way in which reconciliation is arrived at. In Gupta Bhagavata, it's Radha who becomes prominent, and the text is ascribed to Jagannath Dasa, and that's another way in which a third kind of reconciliation is arrived at. So then Das takes you through Dinabandhu Khadanga's Bhagavata and how Khadanga's Bhagavata sought, and another early modern text, sought to have a more faithful and literal translation of the Bhagavata, of the Sanskrit Bhagavata. And then we come to the last part of his chapter, which is about the Brahmanic opposition to it. And Das's major argument is that Jagannath Das might have had some conflicts with the priestly establishment, and that might be one of the reasons why there would be some form of opposition to Brahmanical opposition to the Bhagavata text. The second point that he makes is that Bhagavata gets patronized by the Teli caste, and hence for a long time it's known as Teli Bhagavata, and primarily he is relying on Nilakantha Dasa's autobiography to make these arguments about the opposition or the Brahmanical opposition to the text. And it also points towards the radicalness of the text itself. And these are some of the arguments that he would make within this final section. And the most interesting to me was how he would connect the Bhagavata text with a particular caste, that of the Teli, as a patronage, a trading caste. And how, if we keep in mind that the Mahanadi River Valley was a major route of trade in early modern Odisha, then this association of a trading caste and Bhagavata becomes important, something we can further research and talk about. So this is what pretty much happens, and he concludes, and I would read out the last conclusion that he has, 3-4 lines. In spite of these oppositions and the resulting conflicts and controversies and other attempts to translate whole of the Sanskrit Bhagavata afresh to Odia, The Odia Bhagavata by Jagannath Das remains extremely popular throughout the Odia speaking tracts. And although no survey has been conducted or statistics is available, it can be claimed that the Odia rendering of the Bhagavata by Jagannath Das have sold more than any other book written in Odia. This is just a small picture of religious controversies in medieval Odisha. Thank you. I think we would conclude the presentation of Professor Das's paper here, and we record our gratitude for him to have written it out and sent it to us despite his poor health. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Siddharth, for making a very faithful representation of Professor Das's paper. I think we saw the draft, and you also gave us the major highlights. And when the draft is available, I'm sure scholars can think more about the areas where they might contribute. And we would definitely like to thank Professor Das for his very dense paper. I think, I'm sure whoever has read his work would see the density of his work. There would be documentation, there would be arguments, and so we would like to thank him. And so I think I would now like to invite Dr. Sukanya Sarvadikari